What's going on, guys? I am Kevin, and I'm here with another edition of Seven with Kevin, where I catch up with everything that you've seen and watch some stuff that you may haven't. And for today's video, I thought, since we're in the month of May and, we have dad movies, that's a big term. I figured I'd look at some movies, 7 movies, that could be maybe deemed mom movies. So let's get to it. All right, for my first film, I have Reagan. And for a famous figure, such an iconic person, Ronald Reagan, I think he deserved better than something that felt like a TV movie of the week. There are a lot of weird and bad choices here. One is making John Voight, who plays Viktor Petrovich, a former KGB agent, who acts as the narrator of this film, which kind of throws everything off balance. I get why they did it. They wanted to make Reagan so legendary that he's talked about, by other countries and by other agents. But I just didn't care for it because John Voight's accent, his Russian accent, is really terrible. But yeah, that really throws it off balance. Um, Other than that, the movie is very cheap and vanilla. It's cheaply made. There is a shot here where Reagan's on a bench and it is lit so terribly that I do not know how it got past the editors or anyone, the director, but anyone with sense, maybe the guy who gripped the coffee that day, looked at the monitor and said, "Yeah, that's a good shot." We also have Penelope Ann Miller here, who was the cute teacher in Kindergarten Cop that kind of caught Schwarzenegger's eye. She plays Nancy Reagan, and she is awful. She's a good actress. I've seen her in other stuff, but she's terrible here. And that is not her fault. That is the fault of the direction and the script. The script is clumsy. It does a very shallow brushover of important events. And the dialogue is absolutely crap. This is really stilted dialogue, and it's 2.5 hours, and this thing felt like 2.5 hours. The only saving grace I could say that this movie has is Dennis Quaid. I thought he was pretty good as Reagan. He plays him as a very honorable man. But even a actor of Quaid's caliber cannot make this material sing, and I'm going to give this one 2 out of 5 Reagan hairpieces. My next film was something that I was hyped to see. There was a lot of buzz behind this movie, specifically the lead actress, who was in contention for a nomination for the Oscars but didn't turn out. I'm talking about Nicole Kidman in the movie Baby Girl. Here, she is a CEO of a company, married to Antonio Banderas, has a great family, has the power, is an alpha female, but she yearns for more sexually. This is where Harris Dickerson comes in. Harris Dickerson, of course, has just been casted as John Lennon in Sam Mendes' upcoming Beatles movie. He plays a young intern that knows how to press all those buttons, and that's pretty much it, And for a movie about sexual desire, domination, I thought this movie was kind of plain. I thought it was kind of vanilla. And yeah, that's not the kind of vibe you want for a film like this. You want to basically excite the viewer. Worse, it adds nothing to the genre that you haven't seen before. Done in I can't believe I'm saying this. 50 Shades of Grey kind of did this a lot better. But if you want to watch it, the performances will get you through it. But I'm gonna give this one 2.5 out of 5 Nicole Kidman hairpieces. All right, so the third film I watched was Goodrich, which is a very forgettable film that benefits from the performances of Michael Keaton and Mila Kunis. Here, Michael Keaton plays a lackluster but caring father who is thrust into the role as a full-time father of his 2 young kids because his wife checks herself into rehab. So, to get some help, he asks his daughter from his first marriage, who is an adult and is played by Mila Kunis. She is also expecting a baby, but she wants to have some type of relationship with him since when she was younger, he was always away on business and, he wasn't there for her. Um, yeah, I had to look up the summary of this film when I was writing the review, this little short review, because that's how forgettable this thing is. Director and writer Haley Meyer Schultz, who did 2017's Home Again, very, as I said, lucked out very much with Keaton and Kunis because they added the spice that this project needed. It is very vanilla in everything, the way it looks, the way it feels, the way the script is. it is just, I think your mother or your aunt would say, "Oh my God, this is the greatest movie I've ever seen." But to people like us, people who watch a lot of movies, it is forgetful. It's not bad, but you'll forget it like I did soon after you see it. And I'm going to give this one 2.5 out of 5 Michael Keaton hairpieces. Okay, my next one is Fly Me to the Moon. Originally, this movie was supposed to be an Apple original. It was supposed to just release on the streaming service, but after test scores that went through the roof, they decided, what the hell, we're going to basically release this in the theaters. And this is an ultimate crowd pleaser of a film. It is reminiscent of a high concept romantic comedy from the 90s. It gets the job done. It isn't perfect. It gets a little cheesy, but it is completely light on its feet and completely harmless. Above all, this movie shows the skill of Scarlett Johansson. Scarlett Johansson is awesome in this movie. She plays this role with such charm and such charisma. And even though her character gets a little bit of backstory as the movie progresses, which I don't really think they needed to do. I think the whole movie could ridden on the charm of who she was. She's great. And Channing Tatum, who plays into the plot, he brings his own tragedy to this story about if America did basically fake the moon landing. It's a romantic comedy. You don't have to think that hard, and you probably can, you know, predict the twist as you're watching it. I liked it. It was enjoyable. It was very light on its feet, as I said. And, I'm going to give this one 3 out of 5 Scarlett Johansson hair pieces. This next one I'm going to talk about is I'll Be Right There. This is a middle of the road comedy. Like actresses usually do these in their 40s and 50s. Just very well written films starring a popular actress. In this case, we have Edie Falco. And Edie Falco is joined by Janine Berlin, and Janine Berlin plays her mother, and the two have fantastic chemistry. And they bounce off really well, and it has a very funny opening scene that I very much enjoyed. But Falco is the real star here, both nailing both the comedic tones, the comedic one-liners, and the drama very well. She stars as an overstressed mother who is realizing her kids are basically leaving her, and they're dependent on each other. She's a mother, and she doesn't know what she's going to do when she has to look after herself. So it's a lot of she's looking at her own problems now that the kids are basically starting to leave. Again, not a bad film. The cast is solid, and she's solid, and the writing's pretty good. And these characteristics make it stick out more than an average film. Again, if you're an Edie Falco fan, I recommend this. I enjoy her, and I'm looking forward to see what she does next. And I'm going to give this one 3 out of 5 Edie Falco hair pieces. All right, so the next one was a Netflix movie, and it's called His Three Daughters. It is a showcase for the three leading actresses, Elizabeth Olsen, Carrie Coon, and Natasha Lyonne. They star as sisters who are basically confined in this apartment where most of the story takes place. And they are looking after their ailing father. This is a movie that is all about the acting and the relationships. They get along one minute, they hate each other one another minute. They look internally at themselves and their relationship with their sisters. Shout out to Jay Sanders, who comes in at the end of the movie as the father. I thought he was very good in limited. I think he's like 5-10 minutes screen time. Very memorable performance. Yeah, this one is all about the acting. There's really not much to say about it. If you are a fan of these three actresses and J.O. Sanders, again, he was great in this movie. Check it out. I'm going to give this one 4 out of 5. Elizabeth, Natasha Lyonne, and Carrie Coon hair pieces. And finally, we have Better Man. Don't let the supposed silliness of this thing fool you. It is an entertaining, emotional, and well-made musical. It is from the makers of The Greatest Showman, about the life of the British pop star Robbie Williams. My personal knowledge of Robbie Williams just goes maybe a handful of songs. I really don't know the guy. And so I kind of went into this thing with a blank slate. Now, in the movie, Robbie Williams is portrayed by a CGI monkey. It looks like Caesar from the Planet of the Apes. So imagine Caesar went, to Broadway and started singing. Now, the thing with the movie is no one basically recognizes the fact that this thing is a monkey. It's just accepted. It's a metaphor for how Robbie Williams felt in the beginning of his career. felt like a dancing monkey. So, that's not, it's not discussed. Everyone just accepts it. Um, yeah. So the CGI monkey is extremely well done. This movie was nominated for Best Visual Effects. Very, very well done. But the best part of this movie is the relationship between Robbie and his family, specifically his dad. And his dad is played by Stephen Pennington, who provides a really good performance as a man who passes his talent along to his son, but also passes a lot of trauma onto him too, that basically makes him into an addict, an asshole, every negative thing. But the guy is a star. The guy can sing. The guy's a showman. And I also want to shout out Robbie Williams did not play himself in this movie. No, Jono Davies provided the motion capture, the acting, and the singing. Excuse me. And he did a pretty goddamn good job. This movie is entertaining. It is heartfelt, and I really liked it. It is an emotional ride from start to finish, and I really am going to recommend you guys see this. It didn't do that well in the theaters, but I'm giving it a very big recommendation of 4.5 out of 5 monkey Robin Williams hair pieces. All right, that wraps it up for today. And again, I want to know what you think. Do you disagree with me on any of these movies? Come to the website, watch our videos. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, yeah, on YouTube too. We have our own channel there. Come and watch our videos. We're always talking about the latest in movies, TV, and video games. I got to do a video game review soon. Anyway, I love doing this thing for you guys. I love talking about these films. And until next time, I am Kevin. And as we say in this website, cheers.